Just going to try and go live on another setting as well, which is pressing a button, hopefully on Instagram as well. I've got no idea whether that worked. Old people, technology, who cares? Anyway, welcome. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1, boom. And we're in. Welcome to actually quite an emotional day here in the Good Listening To show, because I'm delighted to have Caroline Redman Lusher, MBE. And that's hot off the press, quite new news right there. You were just in the King's New Year's honours list. Before we even get on the open road of blowing some extra oxygenated happy smoke at you, have you been for your gong yet? Have you met the Queen? Have you met the King for the gong?
I haven't received my gong. I was invited to go on February the 12th, and I'm afraid I'm out of the country. And I felt terrible writing back, saying, please don't remove it from me. Please, can I come another time? And they've said, yes, of course. So I'm waiting for the date.
Lovely. And I believe you've been at Highgrove for the King's 75th birthday in any case with the rock choir. So it's not like, this will be like, oh, here's Chuck, here's Charles again. This won't be the first time.
And also at his Christmas event. So we've been twice recently, and I have actually been to Buckingham Palace once before. So I know the ropes. I know where the corridors are and where to park. So yeah, I know what's coming.
You're in full curtsy mode. You know exactly what to do, which is outstanding. Let me get on with the happy smoke. I know you know who you are, but it's time to blow some oxygenated happy smoke at you. This is Caroline Redman Lusher, who is the rock choir queen and goddess, as I've been calling her. You're welcome. And may I say, you've created the most beautiful institution. I did mention it's going to be quite an emotional day, because whilst I've been researching you today, I've been going, because the fact of 6,000 people with you at the front all singing Hallelujah, which is your most recent single, which is there for, I think it's Cash for Kids is the current narrative. And even before that, I was looking at Fix You, the Coldplay song that I also found moving initially. And thank you for being here. I saw you speak at the Entrepreneurs Convention a few months ago. And as I sat there, I had an epiphany watching you, where I was thinking, I've got to get all these speakers on my show. And then since then, I've been in pursuance of you, and you've been kind enough to say, yes, here you are today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, it was a really good, fun speech in Birmingham, wasn't it? It was an interview on stage. And I came out onto stage with smoke and fireworks and Eurythmics playing. So I was slightly overwhelmed. I've never come out on stage like that before.
May I say, it was a great entrance. Then we also saw a representation of one of your Rockies cohorts singing, which was wonderful too. And as I understood it, it could have even expanded since, but it happens in 400 locations, could be more. There are 30,000 members to the rock choir, and it happens in groups of up to 100, I'm gathering. Is that right?
Well, it depends. Each choir rehearsal could be maybe 40 people in the room, up to even 250 people in the room, depending on the community and how long we've been going. 20 years of rock choir, 400 rehearsals across the country every week, leading to local, regional and national performances. So sometimes the choirs come together, sometimes members miss their rehearsal and they go to one nearby. So the numbers change all the time.
And on Facebook as well this morning, and I knew about you in any case, people are saying such beautiful things about how life enhancing it is. And your whole imperative, of course, is just to help people. It's a new you. It just helps people. And one of the testimonials was, if we can help just one person in a dark place, you've just got such a beautiful movement, and it's great to watch. And the liberation of having the common purpose in pursuance of achieving the beauty of song is wonderful.
It is fantastic, and we're introducing pop music, the favourite songs from the decades, to all ages, but in a very different way, where instead of just listening or singing along with the main melody, we're deconstructing the song, rebuilding the harmonies and teaching it, connecting with everyone and putting them in the centre of that song so that they can enjoy the song, learn about the song, and then perform the song when they're ready.
And there's a lovely section coming up, which is show me your QR code, please, where I'm going to point people to the videos of Hallelujah and Fix It, or Fix You rather. And they are so moving, and they are the essence and the quintessence of what it is you're achieving. And on your website, which I'm also going to show listeners a link to as well, and we'll talk about I'm just looking up. It's new friends, new experiences, new you is the bish bash bosh of the rockchoir.com imperative.
That's right. And it's all about finding your sparkle again. You know, we all go through life, we get into new patterns. Maybe some patterns aren't so good for us. We forget who we are. This is about time out every single week, or as much as you can accommodate in your timetable. And it's all about giving yourself something very special to engage with that will lead to a burst of self-confidence, new friendships, new experiences, and of course the all-important music and education, which keeps our brains going and releases, here's the science, endocannabinoids into our brains, which creates the natural high. Then that's what I'm after for everybody. They leave an hour and a half rehearsal on a natural high. They engage with the music, they start to rehearse, they start to perform. Music becomes a huge part of their world again. Yeah. And they bond with one another from performing, from going off on social events. And I'm ticking all the boxes from a sociology point of view. Yes. Communities combine, they connect, we raise money for charity. It's literally, I see it as a cycle where everybody benefits, everyone wins.
And can I commend you for the ND Watty Hoobizomes that you're releasing?
Endocannabinoids. So cannabinoids suggests cannabis, suggests a natural high, and that's what's being triggered in the brain. We actually worked with the late Dr. Michael Mosley. We did a TV show with him where he tested some Rockies, a group of 20 Rockies, dancing, cycling, and then a rock choir session to see from their saliva and blood how much of the uplift they experienced. And although dancing and cycling were 20%, more endocannabinoids, rock choir was 40% more endocannabinoids. So rock choir won.
Wonderful. 6%. And have you yet performed with the rock choir in the Rockies? Because that would be, obviously, everything's going to just come together. And there's probably an acoustic there too that would be very, very exciting as well.
Well, have I soloed with them, you mean? Have I sung with them?
No, what I was being a bit facetious about whether, because you're collectively called the Rockies, and whether you've done rock in the Rockies as a rock choir. It's the motivation.
Do you know what? It's some people say, well, what do you mean you don't do rock music? But we do mainstream rock songs from the decades and pop. So it's not meant to be that we only do rock music. We do rock and pop.
Yes. And coming back to your endocannabinoids, as you said.
Cannabinoids.
When you spoke at the Entrepreneurs Convention, you did say one of the testimonials that I wrote down, which really moved me, is you brought, as you've already said, but it was broader, you brought my sparkle back. You brought back the wife I remembered was what a husband had said about his wife going and being part of rock choir.
Yes, and that was a very moving moment. It's not the first time, actually. I receive a lot of letters from husbands and partners who've been married a very long time, and their partner is engaged with rock choir, and they've started to see that the woman that they married, the earlier version of her before life set in and took its toll in some way. Not everybody is in rock choir because there's a problem, but some are in for, well, a lot of our Rockies 15 years plus, and you can't get through 15 years without something happening that's challenging in your life. And of course, the platform of rock choir, the social aspect, the confidence, the natural high, puts that person in a much better position to deal with the challenges. It doesn't fix the problems, but they're in a better, more positive position to deal with what's going on. And this husband, he actually found me. We were at breakfast after a show the night before, and he found me at breakfast, and he got on his knee in front of me and took my hand, and he had tears in his eyes, and the whole space went quiet, where he said, "You brought my wife back to me. She's found her sparkle again. I can only thank you and rock choir for doing that." And we were all kind of mopping ourselves up at 8 a.m. at breakfast because of this speech. You know, it was wonderful.
You've been kind enough to say that you're happy to let us texture in 3 tracks during the course of the soundscape of what we're doing. So that seems like a perfect first segue into the first track you'd like to introduce, so we can hear for ourselves what it's like to be in, or what it's like to listen to the rock choir. So what's the first track you'd like to tee up?
Well, the first track is actually Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen. We've recorded a very special version of this with a lovely pop video that you saw earlier today. We just toured with this particular song and recorded over 11,000 Rockies performing it. So this track is special to me because it includes their voices, and we released it in December.
Lovely. And it's in black and white, and it's an absolutely beautiful film. Dan, my podcast editor, will know exactly what to do. Here it comes, Hallelujah, with the rock choir. Boom, we'll assume that's happened now, and that was beautiful, and we're all going for all right reasons, and I'll show a QR code later on to point people exactly to that. It is my great delight, privilege and pleasure to now curate you through the Good Listening to Show Storyscape.
Okay.
In which I invite movers, makers, shakers, mavericks, influencers, and also personal heroes into a clearing or serious happy place of my guests' choosing, as they all share with us their stories of distinction and genius, and how eminently qualified you are, Caroline Redman Lusher. This is a true story of distinction and genius as to what you've curated and created with great love. I think you've been doing it, well, how many years have you been doing it for now?
20 years officially, and before that, probably 4 years leading up to it.
Wonderful. So let's get on the open road. So first of all, what is a clearing or serious happy place for you, Caroline Redman Lusher, goddess and queen of the rock choir? Where do you go to find your
Do you know what? My home is very important to me, and I am surrounded by everything I know and love, and I'm very comforted at home. So I'm a real homebody. So I've chosen my home. I'm in Tilford near Farnham in Surrey, and the gate is closed, the sun is shining, and I'm just very calm.
What a wonderful sense of presence to be where you are now, right now, here and now, is where you're happiest. That's lovely. And you're sitting in a studio, and if I'm able to have a look at your backdrop, you've got some lovely accolades on the wall behind you.
I have. I've got, for example, Shakin' Stevens. He signed the musical score that my parents bought me in the 80s when I first learnt to play the piano. He signed that a couple of years ago, so that was a bit of a moment for me. And I've got some, I've got the records that I've sung on. I got a double platinum award, and then of course it's just rock choir. My whole world is rock choir. It's all around me.
Love that. And I live in Bristol, by the way, where Aardman Animation is, and like a whole empire has been built around the idea of somebody who used to spend their time in a garage playing with plasticine, which is now Aardman Animation. You have you've curated a rock choir, and now you're sitting right at the heart of it. You called it Rock Choir HQ, didn't you?
Well, we have an HQ in Farnham where I have nearly 40 staff who are full time working on that underpinning element of rock choir that needs to be really, really slick. That's about 10 minutes from here. So, but I choose to have my space at home, and I do spread out a bit. I use various rooms for various things.
Yes.
So, for example, I wrote my book in the adjoining drawing room, looking out onto the garden, and I used to have a piano here, but I've spread out into the garage. Now I've spread myself out. And of course I have a little boy who goes to bed at 7:30. So I need to rehearse in a separate space, which is the luxury garage that I've created for myself.
Wonderful. So here we are then in your clearing, which is your version of Rock Choir HQ. You've created a monster, if I may say so, and that's a compliment, because you've got you, and then you've got all those other people, and then the thousands, the tens of thousands that actually are part of the Rockies, as we now know they are called.
Yes.
So now I'm going to arrive with a tree within your clearing, and because of my hecting background, this is a deliberately waiting for Godot Beckety and a bit existential and profound. We're going to shake your tree to see which apples fall out. How'd you like these apples? And this is where you've been kind enough to have thought about 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to grab your attention, and that's where the squirrels are going to come in. We've all got shiny object syndrome, squirrels, monsters of distraction. That'll come in later. And then the 1 is a quirky or unusual fact about you, Caroline Redman Lusher. We couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us. It's not a memory test, so over to you to interpret, first of all, 4 things that have shaped you.
Shaped me. So first of all, I would say my father, my dad, has shaped me. We are very close. We even share a birthday. He has supported me and shaped my entire interaction with the world. We're both very positive. We both love being around people, and my work ethic, my ability to not let people down, or at least my commitment to not let people down, has come from him. The standards have come from him. He actually spent a lot of his youth trying to come up with an entrepreneurial type idea. And of course, when rock choir came along, he realized that it was coming from me and he could be part of it. So he's been with me right from the beginning. It was him who believed in me. It was him who persuaded me to leave my life in London as a lounge singer. He's supported me. He's always been there financially if I've needed any help, which fortunately I haven't particularly over the time. And really, he's the one who used to drive me to those nightclubs when I was underage, where I used to sing and lie about my age. He would pick me up in the early hours. He would take me to some cool rock band that I'd been asked to join. He would give up all his time around his career to support me through that. So he is very, very important to me. And I would say was a key person who shaped me.
Beautiful answer. And if I may ask, where's your mother in this?
My mother is very, very lovely. She's very quiet. She tends to sit back and observe rather than engage. So they are still with me. They're very local, 6 minutes from here. They are both in their 80s and they're slowing down, very visibly slowing down now, but they love coming to see us all the time. And they, of course, have a grandchild now who they love engaging with. So that's given them some energy and some oomph back into their lives. Yeah. So my mother is very much part of the family, but it's my dad who's the proactive, big supporter of what I do.
And father, manager, and impresario, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And are you an only child, or are you?
I have a sister. I have an older sister, Elizabeth, who lives half an hour from here as well. So she is. She's always been rooting for me with the music. She's very proud. Yeah, we're very close.
And there's a lot to be proud of. That's a great first. Shapage number two.
Number two, I would have to say it's my schooling. I was lucky enough to go to a girls' school up in Solihull in the Midlands. I grew up in a village called Knoll nearby, and I spent the best years of my life at that school. I won the music scholarship when I was 11, and I was there till I was 18. And I absolutely loved the social aspect of it. I loved the timetable, the structure, the teachers. I'm still in touch with them. I message them. I'm with them all the time when I visit. And I really had a great time there. And they were very supportive of my music. I always used to get out of hockey and swimming because I said I had a music exam, violin and piano. And they were always really, really supportive. So I really think that those happy years spent in Knoll, in Solihull, and at the school were a huge part of the reason for Rock Choir. And in fact, when I was writing my book, I realized that I had created a community a little bit like my girls' school, in that there's structure, there's this timetable, the education side of it. I realized, those happy years have stayed with me, and now I've, got that environment around me. So.
And is there a particular, it sounds like there's a squad of teaching around you there, but is there a particularly luminary music teacher?
Yes,
like
Frances Hooper and Claire Kimpton, music and drama. They were my two go-to teachers. The headmistress was Mrs. Williams, who trained me in English. And I believe that English training, she's very, very strict with it, has really helped with Rock Choir writing, those initial early years of press releases, and also the book, of course. I couldn't have done. Yes. And I sent Mrs. Williams the book, and she wrote to me swiftly afterwards, because I was nervous about had I made any grammar mistakes, because I went through that book so many times. It took me a long time to write it. And she was very proud and thrilled, and of course wrote to me after the MBE as well. So I've had 2 messages from Mrs. Williams.
And what a lovely resonance there in the phrasing within singing, but also phrasing within the book that you've written and the copy that you've written.
Yes, and I think to still be in touch with those staff and the girls, we call it old girls now of the school. Yeah. I regrouped with as many as I could actually a couple of years ago, where we recorded the 2 school hymns, because the school actually is over now. It ended. It ran out of money. It had financial problems, and it ended in just before lockdown began in 2020. And I went straight up there to say, "What's happened? How can I help? You can't let the school die." It was a really difficult time to accept that nothing I could do could fix it. So we said goodbye to the school, but I gathered everybody and recorded the 2 school songs, and we released them out onto all the music platforms so that any old girl from the decades can access those 2 school songs.
Your very obvious through line throughout everything that you're doing is the sense of community, because even that, going back to your community of where it all began, and now the Rockies is of itself a really so your sense of community is like a golden thread throughout.
It is, and I absolutely love people. I love engaging with people, listening to people, understanding behavior, working out where has this come from, where's the root of the problem when there are problems, and just trying to connect people as much as possible, because if there's anything that makes the world go round, it's people. I wouldn't agree with money. I say it's people. We all need to look after one another, and you just don't know when you're talking to someone what they're going through, what troubles that they're dealing with, and sometimes just one kind word from a stranger can lift someone's day, the same way it can ruin someone's day. A bit of road rage or something awful can ruin your day, and I think everyone should be more aware.
So the therapeutic nature of community, and then of course being part of the rock choir, again, it's therapeutic, and it's all a sense of community.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So as well as school shaped me, I think my role as an A-level teacher, I was a performing arts teacher, and I trained on the job. I took night school and got a qualification in further education and higher education. And my role, I was really thrown in the deep end. I'd come from being a lounge singer all those years, getting a degree in music, but being invited to go and teach performing arts when I'd never taught before. And I was really thrown in. It was quite stressful, but I absolutely loved shaping the lives of those kids. And I really took to it. And those 4 years of teaching allowed me to then create rock choir. Without that time, I wouldn't have created, I wouldn't have learned, I wouldn't have understood. I had a natural instinct and affinity with teaching, but to know the rules, to know the theory behind it, and understand how to manage groups, the dynamics, all that helped lead to rock choir. So I'm really grateful for that time. It certainly shaped me and allowed me to explore options after being a performer for so many years.
You're such a living testament to the transferable skills that come from teaching, which people often forget. People get stuck thinking it's this, but actually there are so many transferable skills, and everything that you've done has played. The adage is, I've prepared my entire life for this moment. It seems like everything you've been doing has been putting in your bank of, this is preparing me for now. The time is now.
And that's exactly right. And when I created rock choir, there was a time when we tipped into this. There was a huge reaction after the first year that I was running it in my community, and this huge all these people arrived to take part. I ran what was called a Bring a Friend session. All these people, and I looked at this room. It's full of hundreds of people wanting to engage with rock choir, and for the first time, I thought, this is what I was meant to do. This is Plan A, and I hadn't ever felt that confident before about what I was doing. I mean, I was always trying, really, for a lot of my early life, to get a record deal. That was what I was training to do. So difficult to break the industry and get in. But here I was thinking, oh, I wasn't meant to do that. I was meant to do this. I was meant to share the joy of popular music with my community. And I still feel like that 20 years on, that there's no doubt everything I had done led me to that moment and helped me in that moment.
Lovely crafting of the shaping. Lovely. Is there a fourth shaping?
There is. It was a performance at BBC Proms in the Park. We were invited by the BBC 2 years in a row, 2018, 2019. Hyde Park, 40,000 people, BBC Concert Orchestra. I was out front soloing. I had 80 of my rock choir leaders, the rock choir vocal group, performing with me. And we were live on Radio 2 and live on Red Button. And that performance changed everything for me. It was I got the most exhilarating high that lasted for 16 days afterwards. I felt like I was floating. It was the most magical experience.
Is that music piece number 2, please, by any strange coincidence?
Ooh, do you know what it is? Yes. Don't You Worry About a Thing. We performed it with them.
Yes. So can you that's the context. Should we now play that piece of music? Just tear that one more time. What's the piece of music?
Don't You Worry About a Thing, Stevie Wonder, the rock choir version.
Boom. Dan, podcast editor, you'll know exactly what to do. That was beautiful. And we're back. Fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm loving how effortlessly easy it is to sort of weave the music in. This is good. And now, as if by magic, I know what I'm doing. We're now on to 3 things that inspire you, Caroline.
Okay, 3 things. The first always will be the greatest pop songs of our time, whether it's watching the pop video or listening to it. I'm immediately transferred into feeling like we could do anything. We could be on stage, we could be doing the arenas, we could be touring. The music, even a couple of bars, the initial bars of the song, I'm uplifted, I'm straight in, and inspired to do more with music as much as possible.
Of itself, that could be its own serious happy place, which we may get onto with Alchemy and Gold later on, because I know when you're at purpose and in flow, you're describing exactly that sort of bliss state of being, well, in flow, which we'll talk about later as well.
That's right. So inspired like that. I'd say the next thing that inspires me is when I hear or witness the goodness in people, when I hear about kind behavior, when I hear about a selfless act of some sort. And of course, we hear about this a lot in rock choir because the ethos and culture is about kindness and love and support, especially after the pandemic when I toured 80 nights to see all the Rockies after the pandemic, to say thank you to them for supporting rock choir, for keeping us going. And they were telling me all sorts of amazing stories of helping one another in the community. When one of them went down, the rest came in to save them. And it inspires me to, I guess on those tough days that I have with rock choir, the challenging days, it inspires me to continue to make sure that we have longevity and carry on supporting one another. So hugely inspired by, I don't know, just having that knowledge that it's working out there, what I'm hearing. And the other thing that inspires me, I'm afraid, is the 1980s. I am a 1980s girl. Much, if my team were here, they'd just roll their eyes. I can hear them rolling their eyes somewhere as I say the 1980s. I was born in 74, so the 80s were, it was a prolific time for culture, for pop music. And I was hugely inspired, of course, by the music, by that period of time. And I'm often referring back to those songs from the 1980s. They were well crafted, well shaped examples of brilliant songs. And although a lot of people, it's a bit cheesy, it's a bit this, it's a bit that, they were brilliant examples of beautiful melody, great structure, and great themes. A lot was happening in the 80s, generally with fashion, with music, with art. And a lot of my choice of songs do relate back to the 80s. When I say, let's do another 80s song, and my team go, oh. And I say, listen, I will protect the 80s till the day I die.
Having connected with the artists that made the music in the 80s, and they know that rock choir are doing it, and they're there. I mean, I know we're not talking about the 80s now, but when you did Fix You, I wondered whether Chris Martin was there.
No, but we do have interaction. We do get social media comments from artists when we cover their songs, and I've had the odd call from record producers, would we do such and such a song? And I said, and I would say, I will if you come and say hi to the Rockies, come and show yourself. And we had, for example, we've been working on the Keane song, Somewhere Only We Know, highly emotional. And in fact, that's a single that's due to come out this year. And the lead singer of Keane, his sister is in rock choir, and he popped up at her rehearsal to say hi to everyone. So we like that.
And did you know all along that she was there and he could turn up, or was that close to you?
So that was lovely. And who else? I mean, loads of just I think people are now aware of rock choir much more. Dare I say it's become a household name. It's popped up occasionally, and I've thought, okay, in the Coronation Street script, it was suggested by one character to another to join rock choir. That was a very interesting moment.
That's iconic. Yes, iconic right there.
And also, I mean, I've mentioned Dr. Michael Mosley already, but I bought one of his books this Christmas, and I thought, right, I'm going to see what he suggests. What am I missing in rock choir? What can I add to help that natural confidence. And I saw a chapter singing. I thought, oh, great, let's see what he says about singing. And it was all about rock choir. The whole chapter was about rock choir. Wow. I thought, okay, that's another indication of household name.
There's a lovely point in your story where you've just seeped under the doors of the nation in a really beautiful way. Your music is singing out and it's resonating, because of course that's the perfect musical phrase.
But also the presenters, when I'm interviewed on TV, the presenters don't explain what rock choir is anymore. And they used to, and I used to have to explain every single time. And now I don't. So for example, New Year's Eve, BBC Breakfast invited me to sit on the red couch. They announced the MBE and they put together this amazing piece of video clips of us. And they didn't explain what it was. They talked about the huge mental health benefits. They talked about the MBE, but I didn't feel I was at the beginning still. I thought, yes, we all, hopefully most of us know what it is now.
Wonderful. And now I think we could be at the squirrels. That's borrowed from the film Up, by the way. What are your monsters of distraction? What your shiny object syndrome? As I know Nigel Bottle from the Entrepreneur Circle said, I learnt that expression as his version of squirrels. So what are your squirrels?
Oh, well, I was going to ask you. So are these objects, or are these what in terms of distraction?
Well, previous answers, for me it might be a ping pong table. Squirrels, because I'm always obsessed and whether I can beat the person that's playing at the table. Somebody once said the sound of a motorbike exhaust, because they want to know what the motorbike is. So it's just things that just completely float your boat that are totally idiosyncratic to you.
Okay. Squirrel. Okay, so in that case, something that isn't related to rock choir, because my whole world and brain is rock choir, I'd have to say houses. Architecture. I love driving around looking at beautiful houses. I love my 2 magazines that arrive one is every week, Country Life. I only buy it to look through the houses. Really interested. You get to nose through people's houses on the page without going. And housey stuff. And I don't get a lot of time, but what I do to calm down is go around the house clearing. It sounds boring, but I like to be in a beautiful setting, and if I have spare money, I will put it into the house, because this is my space and where I like to be. So distraction is Rightmove, for example. Rightmove.
Yeah.
Always on Rightmove.
Rightmove. Yep.
Not that I want to move house. I'm just very interested. Anyway.
It sounds like you found a house for life in where you are. Is that right?
It's definitely a keeper, yeah. And I was always used to moving and just moving and moving, the Midlands up to Manchester, into London, into Farnham, moved 3 times here. And I was just used to moving. And when the pandemic hit, my husband said, is there any reason why you want to move? Because you're already talking about moving, but why can't we stay here? And I thought, wow, yeah, we can stay here. And of course, I bought Hamilton here.
I'm assuming that was your husband. It's Stuart, who turned up to be your head of IT.
Stuart is head of tech in this house. And that's the only thing with the house is the tech fails regularly. The heating, the electronic gate, and the Wi-Fi. And
most families have their head of IT being your son's age, like 7.
Oh, he's only 4. He's only 4. But when he's a bit older, I'll be the cool mum who will know everything of the latest trends, and I hope. We'll see.
Of course.
So distracted by homes and house, and that, I guess, that nest, the concept of the nest, and making it wonderful. And the other, and this isn't a shiny object or anything, but I think the thing that can distract me and cause me conflict and cause me stress, so it's a kind of a negative one, is when somebody is struggling, when someone is in a bad way, I need to go and fix it. And that can distract me, especially family. I have to down tools, and I will go and I will fix it, and I'll fix it even if it's detrimental to me.
Lovely. And that having a family member as a pet squirrel is a great answer. And now, a quirky or unusual fact about you we couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us.
My quirky fact is that I am very drawn and very keen to watch horror supernatural movies.
My daughter would like you. She's obsessed with horror.
And a lot of people think that's odd, because rock choir is this big bubble of love and so joyous. And I think maybe there's a part of me that just needs something scary to happen sometimes, just to balance things out a little bit. But I don't like gore. I'll only watch supernatural.
Okay. Have you said rock choir is a big bubble of love before? Because I'd like to give that back to you.
I have. I think, especially if I do that or that.
Because when I called you the Queen and the Goddess of Rock Choir, that sounded new, like you're going to tell the BBC
Well, that
which
sounds
sounded
like
quite
a new
exciting.
TV show to me. Yeah.
Don't forget, you got the idea here first. That's great.
Although I'm under pressure somewhat to be a goddess when you know, that could be a struggle. But you're very kind to name me that.
Pish and tush. We've shaken your tree. Hurrah! Now we move away from the tree. We stay in the clearing, which is where exactly you're sat. And now we're going to talk about alchemy and gold. You've been giving me gold by the bucket load in any case. But when you're at purpose and in flow, Caroline, where or what is that like for you? What's your alchemy and gold in what you're here to reveal to the world?
My moment when I'm at my best is in front of an audience on a stage with a head mic, and I am delivering music, I am talking, I'm making people laugh, and I'm singing, and that's my world. And I'm at my best. Everything that's a skill or that's good in me comes out at its best when I'm in that moment.
Well, your soul is chiming musically and gloriously in your clearing of being in front of an audience. Lovely. And now we're going to award you with a cake. So here's a comedy prop of a cake. You get to put it. Do you like cake?
Of course, yes.
So what? It is a metaphorical cake, but I'd like to meet you in person, I'll bring you a cake. But what type of cake would you like, please?
I'd like a vanilla with rainbow sprinkles on the top, please. Vanilla sponge.
It shall be yours. And now you get to put a cherry on the cake with stuff like, what's a favorite inspirational quote that's always given you succor and pulled you towards your future?
Okay, well, I actually have a couple of quotes. Do you want to hear them all, or do I need to pick? Okay.
No, we're doing brilliantly for time. So
Okay, so I have 3 quotes. Now, they're not from a person of distinction of any. They're more, the first 3 are kind of sayings, but I do have a formal quote at the end. So I have a postcard with the caption, "You own your stress." You own your stress. And I love that. And I carry it around with me because when I do get stressed, you know, it's a thing for most of us. I believe that I think, okay, just remind me, I'm creating this stress. I don't need to react to that. It's up to me if I want to react to that. I'm better off if I'm calm. So it's a reminder, you own your stress. Okay, that's the first thing. And then my father, who I love dearly, his quote, and he's used it year after year, and he's famous for this quote in rock choir because he's captain rock choir. He says the line, and he says it when we are in a drama. So when things are crazy or difficult or horrifying in some way, his line is, "We are where we are." And sometimes I get irritated with that, and I say, that doesn't help me in any way. Dad, we are where we are. I know we are where we are. We need to fix it. And he says, yes, but we are. And it just gives a moment of rest in the drama where he says, well, look, this is where we are. We can't, you know, we just have to accept where we are and move on. And I think, okay, it does seem to work, but that's his line. The other line.
And just before we move away, what is Captain Rock Choir called? You
Dave Lusher. Dave Lusher.
So big shout out to Dave Lusher. We love that. He's the back captain.
He was chief pilot for British Airways for many years until he retired at 55. He's now 82. So he was Captain Dave Lusher, which is why he became Captain Rock Choir when he transferred. Yeah. And then another line is, and we all use this, and it's a little bit dated as a line, but it's go with the flow. Now, very good friend of mine, one of my best friends, Marilyn, she helped me a lot when I went through multiple rounds of IVF. And as I actually went through 13 rounds of IVF in the end, and she would come with me to the various operations. There were a lot of operations and procedures. And as time went on, I would get more and more stressed and frightened, I guess. And she would just say to me, go with the flow, go with the flow. And I would hear her words as I was wheeled into the next procedure.
Yeah.
And it would work and it would calm me down. And it's because it came from her, I think. So
And I'm so happy for you that you achieved it after 13. That's tenacity and courage right
Well,
there.
I couldn't let it go, you know, I couldn't let it go. And it took me 6 years and I lost many along the way. And in fact, my book is at #1 in the infertility chart on the Amazon book chart because I talk about what happened. Because it was trying to keep Rock Choir going at the same time as dealing with trying to be a mother. But of course, Hamilton came along. You hear the expression miracle baby, but it really was wonderful that we could end that part of our lives where we had to keep trying like that. So go with the flow really helped me to calm myself down. But the official quote, and I wonder if you might guess who said this. I'm not going to say you won't get it because that's not fair, but here we are. Here's the quote. Have courage and be kind. Where there is kindness, there is goodness. And where there is goodness, there is magic.
I'll have a pop at Shakespeare, but probably not.
I'm afraid wrong. It was Cinderella.
And now say it again. Now we all know
Cinderella.
it's in
okay, this is
the
Cinderella's quote that I
Cinderella.
love, and I have it on a little bag, and I have it in my. It's like a makeup bag or a, you know, and I have it. I don't use it. I don't want to ruin it, so I keep it empty. But I have it next to my bed, and it says, "Have courage and be kind. Where there is kindness, there is goodness, and where there is goodness, there is magic."
That is gold right there. And factuously as well, one of my favorite quotes is from Finding Nemo and Dory the fish going, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Hurrah. So now, what notes, help or advice with the gift of hindsight would you proffer to a younger version of yourself, Caroline?
I would say to myself, relax and enjoy and socialize being a teenager, because I grafted all the way through and I didn't socialize and I didn't have those years of parties and things. I was singing in nightclubs from the age of 14 and grafting. So perfecting my art as a singer pianist and lying about my age to many nightclubs and bars in Birmingham whilst everyone else was just having a good time.
As my daughter says to me, Dad, you need to take a chill pill. You've reminded me of Jungle Book and Baloo going, if you working as hard as that bumblebee working, cool it, you working too hard. Have you done any Jungle Book music?
Have I done what, sorry?
Any Jungle Book music like the Bare Necessities or stuff like that?
No, we haven't. If we run a kids choir again, we might bring that back. Yeah. They are some of the greatest songs from that movie, yes. In fact, my husband knows all the words. He sings it to Little Hamilton. So yeah. Big fan of Disney here.
And Little Hamilton is presumably not named after the musical, but maybe
no,
he
he's
is.
not. But I did check. I haven't actually seen. You'd think I would have seen it, but I haven't seen Hamilton the musical. But I did check about the character to make sure it was a good guy. No, it was named after the capital of Bermuda because we used to go to Bermuda a lot, and in the end, we would go after another failed attempt of IVF, and we would go to try and just recover. And the capital is Hamilton, and that just transferred into calling him that. And we took him within months to Hamilton to introduce him to the city and had a lovely time.
So Hamilton in Bermuda is obviously another resonant happy place for you because of that.
Yeah, and it's a really lovely place. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's... Yeah. We found a lovely hotel where the staff got to know us very well, and they were almost queuing up when we arrived with Hamilton to show him off. They were thrilled for us. So it became another social kind of family over at that hotel. But we haven't been for a few years. We've reverted to Jersey. I love going to the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands. It's very easy. It's a 30-minute flight. Again, we now know all the staff there. They welcome us when we come back. So easier on the flight. Taking a child on a flight, stressful.
We're now ramping up to Shakespeare in a few moments, but just before we get there, and Shakespeare is going to talk about legacy in a few moments, but just before we get there, this is the pass the golden baton moment, please. Now you've experienced this from within Caroline Redman Lusher, who would you most like to pass the golden baton along to in order to keep the golden thread of the storytelling going?
I would like to pass the golden baton to a very dear friend of mine who is a Grammy and Emmy award-winning record producer called Kipper Eldridge. He is amazing. He's spiritual. He's extremely talented. He has supported me a lot. He's the godfather of Hamilton. He is the godfather, and he has worked with many, many brilliant artists over the years, and is just a guy that everyone needs in their life because he's so positive and happy.
Love that. Everyone needs a Kipper in their lives. I love that. What a name, Kipper. That's glorious.
Well, he's called Mark, but everyone knows him as Kipper from school days, I guess.
Yes, I'm intrigued to ask why now. But
I don't know, actually. No, I can't remember what it was. Something very basic. Yeah, very basic.
And at school, it's normally very basic, isn't it? But anyway, I'm sure it's not because of that. Okay, and now, inspired by Shakespeare and all the worlds and siege and all the men and women merely players, and this is now tapping into my hecting background. This is borrowing from the 7 Ages of Man speech. How, when all is said and done, Caroline Redman Lusher, would you most like to be remembered?
I think this is the phrase I would like. The phrase is, she sang, she danced, and she enabled others to experience joy.
And I love reincorporating deliberately. Just say that once again, please.
She sang, she danced, and she enabled others to experience joy.
Where can we find out all about rock choir Caroline Redman Lusher on the old interweb? And I'm going to show you your QR codes in a minute.
Okay, so it's rockchoir.com to find a rehearsal.
Hold the line, caller. Have a look at
there we are.
If you're watching the show now on all the social media channels, you can literally scan that QR code and boff straight into rockchoir.com. Sorry, I cut you off mid-flow there.
Well, I was going to say, if you're interested in, any of your viewers are interested in joining Rock Choir, all they'll need to do is book a free taster session and put the postcode in, and it will come up with all the local rehearsal times and nights and venues. And they just book in, and they'll be welcomed at the door, and they can try it out before committing.
And as it says there on the very small title, you are, we know this, the UK's original award-winning contemporary choir experience.
That's us.
Boom. Rockchoir.com. That's that one. And then we've got your personal website, which is, hold the line, caller, here, please. Do you want to talk
CarolineRedmanLusher.com. It's got all the latest facts. It's got my biog on there. It's got links to songs and videos and my social media posts. So all my information's on there. And of course, there is a bit about Rock Choir on there as well, because that's my world.
Lovely. And what's the title of your book?
My book is called, I thought I had it. It's called Sing, the Story of Rock Choir.
And when did you publish that?
It came out on the 15th of October, and it's available on all the platforms.
Get quite literally in. And I was enamored in researching you before today. And this morning I watched this. It's Fix You, the official, Chris Martin Coldplay song, but it's beautiful, beautiful, very emotional. I challenge you to watch it without going before the end. So that's that. And then finally, also, as I'm just playing with my QR codes, this is the QR code for the beautiful black and white film sequence of the Hallelujah official video, which it was, where was it filmed? And I know it's in front of 6,000 Rockies were in front of you, but where was
it was filmed across quite a few dates, because I did an 11-night tour. Yeah. So, I mean, that particular, the solo shot was filmed in a theatre in Scarborough. When we were visiting Scarborough as part of the show, we had done Torquay, Blackpool. We'd gone all over the country. So we were using clips from all over the place to incorporate that many Rockies.
Lovely, jubbly. That's got rid of the QR codes for now. Here comes a deliberately coachy final question. As this has been your moment in the sunshine in the Good Listening To show, Caroline Redman Lusher, Rock Choir Queen and Goddess, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would like to say, even if Rock Choir isn't the thing for people to join, that please sing every day and feel the good vibes and those endocannabinoids that are released when you start singing, and have a lovely, happy life.
Caroline Redman Lusher, brought to you by the words cannabis.
Endocannabinoids.
Endocannabinoids. And you've created a phenomenon in the Rock Choir. That's all fantastic. So wonderful. So you've been listening to Caroline Redman Lusher, the Rock Choir Goddess. So I've been Chris Grimes. This has been Caroline Redman Lusher. Thank you very much indeed. Good
Thank
night.
you.
So we'll stop recording in a minute. We'll stop recording. But thank you so much.
Oh, Chris, you were fantastic. What fun.
Hurrah. And are you very pushed for time today? Because I just want to ask you about something else, probably offline.
Oh, sure, I can wait. Yeah, no problem.
And thank you so much for being here. And just to share with you also, the audience that are watching, if you'd like to get in touch about being a guest on my show too, you can look at the goodlisteningtoshow.com website, which is here. It's also a show on UK Health Radio where Caroline, in fact, it's going to be next week because I'd run out of episodes. You're going to be featured on the UK Health Radio Soundscape. And that gives you an audience reach of 1.4 million listeners across 54 countries.
Wow.
Please. So in terms of Happy Smoke, I think and hope that will blow a lot more already Happy Smoke at what you're up to, which is great.
Thank you.
And if you're watching on LinkedIn as well, this is a way of connecting with me, Chris Grimes, on LinkedIn too. I'm obviously a motivational comedian, mojo coach and facilitator. So thank you very much indeed. I'll end the stream there. Anything else you'd like to say?
That's it.
Boomtastic. I'll end